Who is anchoring us? Are you the one?
Me,
Oh,
me and
okay.
Mr. Nita. My
Oh,
team
okay.
deserted me this morning.
All ye team people. That's not fair. Before I would
Which
say
people?
there's Pasha, all of you that have teams.
You have a team.
No, I
She
don't.
doesn't.
You can go and
Jesus is
recruit.
my team.
Nita
It's okay.
recruited for my team.
Jesus is my team. It's okay.
That's all you need in this life, to be honest.
Okay. Alrighty. So I guess folks, we're live. Over to you. Are you starting us out, right?
Sure, I can.
Hey.
Alrighty. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this month's edition of Ladies Arise. Next slide, please. All right, so here is the agenda for today. We'll begin with a welcome of our new members. Is Sister New? Well, she said she can't talk, so I'm not too sure if...
Not really, no.
No? Okay. So we
Yeah.
currently don't have any new members, but I guess if people join, then we can just welcome them to the group. So the next thing will be the synopsis of the book. I know most of us on the call read it, but maybe didn't finish. So I will just give a summary of the book. So the book of the month, sorry, you can go to the next slide. Yes. The book of the month is Heart and Hustle by Patricia Bright. And she is a Nigerian born British citizen or British person. And the book just kind of tells us about her journey through life and how she became an entrepreneur. So just to give us some background, her parents met in the UK. Her dad came for school, and unfortunately, he overstayed his permit in the UK, so he was deported when she was pretty young. I think maybe she was 6 when her dad was deported, and her mom only had a secondary school certificate, so she had to air quotes hustle, right? So her mom was a cleaner, um, and she was cleaning office buildings and trains. And she saw her mom go through all of that, right? So her and her sister would have to go early in the morning, maybe wake up like 4 a.m. with her mom to go to these places where her mom had to clean. They would get ready in their uniforms and just be there to assist their mom before going to school. So I think that's really where that hustle word came from, right? And just her having that mentality of being a hustler. So her mom, after a while, started some side business and went to nursing school, bought property, um, and things like that. So in terms of her childhood, she didn't have the easiest childhood. She said, part of the reasons why she's a warrior or has this like saving mentality is because she'd gone through a lot. Like her parents didn't have enough money to get her things like nice clothes or shoes, and things like that. So I think her first job was, I think maybe distributing newspaper or something in the area. And I think when she was 13, she started doing that. In school, she did people's hair. Um, and then she also did YouTube videos. I knew her before reading the book. Like I used to watch her videos years ago. So I'd seen her YouTube videos and her dress hauls that she was doing. But that for her was a side hobby. So it was a way for her to just distract herself, and she was getting some money from it. In terms of like career, she was actually a career woman before becoming a full-time entrepreneur. So she went to school, she studied, I believe, accounting, um, and worked in like the corporate world. She worked in Maryland Lynch, as well as like Bank of Tokyo and some other places where she got that corporate experience while doing her side hustle, which was YouTube videos. After a while, she realized that it could be very profitable because she was earning on some months the same as she would if her corporate job. And then, she created a plan with her family, her and her husband, on how she could make that a full-time business. She also had other businesses, like she had a hairline where she was selling like wigs and things like that. So she's a person that has multiple streams of income. And this book just kind of tells us her story. I don't think it really, in my opinion, it didn't really tell us how, like, tips on being a very successful entrepreneur. Certain things she gave us some tips on how to be an entrepreneur, how to, do well in your 9 to 5. But that's pretty much the summary of the book. Does anyone want to add anything else? Those who read the book? No? Okay. So the next...
I think you gave a good summary. I was just saying about saving money.
Pardon?
So she also talked about saving money.
Yeah, she talked about saving money as well and being like authentic. She talked about, like, I guess the struggles, not really struggles, but the challenges that women go through. And also being like an entrepreneur, being a mother as an entrepreneur as well. That was something she also talked about. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so icebreaker. We have a few questions that we'd like us to discuss. I wish we had more people on the call just to make this a lot more interactive, but in the book, Patricia shared her journey and she was very open. And I think just having those icebreakers on the next slide will help us open up a bit and share our journey. Like, we can all learn something from each other. So please contribute as we go through this. So the first thing here will be the round table. So I can go first, and then I would just pick someone, and then whoever I pick, answers, and then picks the next person, just so we kind of have that flow. So the first question is, are you a career lady, an entrepreneur, or both? If you're an entrepreneur, what's your business? And if you're a career lady, what industry and what's your 9 to 5? So for me, I am both, more career lady though. My industry, I'm in IT project management. I'm an IT project manager. That's my 9 to 5. And I work in the telecom industry. And my side business is catering or making snacks, small chops, desserts, things like that. So I will call on Sister Tayo to go next.
Okay. All right. I'm a career lady, I would say. I don't have any business yet. I hope to someday in this year, hopefully. But right now, I'm a career lady. So number 3. Oh, if I had to choose one, I don't like stress a lot. So if I had to choose one for my business, I would say real estate. And now I know I said no stress, but yeah, I know there's stress in the real estate, but I'm looking to do mine stress-free, by God's grace. My 9 to 5, I am a registered nurse. I work with SHE and I also teach at Saks Polytech. I guess it's Anita, you're left on the...
Hey, thanks. I don't know if Antiano can talk, but Antiano, any chance?
I can. I just came into the bathroom.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Do you want to quickly go first then?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm both. I don't know how I balance it, but if I would choose, I'll prefer more to be on the career side. So I currently work as a registered nurse with SHA, and I'm more into the food industry when it comes to entrepreneur. And my 9 to 5, most of the time I'm using it to develop how better I can be more as an entrepreneur. That's what I would say. So if I would choose, I think I'd rather be an entrepreneur.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so for me, I'm both. My career is an interesting one. Right now, it's somewhere. I don't even know how to describe it at the moment yet. So we're looking for the branding for what it is right now. But I guess at the moment, I can say that I'm more. I mean, I guess I'm in my industry primarily is government and public institutions. And at the moment, I don't have your traditional regular 9 to 5. I'm doing research projects for government institutions as well as academic. So, and then I'm in my PhD, so I guess academic career. My business, coaching and consulting, training, and what is, are we answering number 2 now? Folks, what inspired you?
No, just number 1, but now we can go into number 2
just
since
the,
we've all. But we can do number 2 now since we've all done number 1.
okay. I can start with number 2 since I'm still.
Okay.
Yeah, so what inspired me to choose that business? So for me, it never started out as a business. It started out as wanting to help people. I saw that people who look like me were struggling in their careers a lot. And, I guess I can say that God had helped me figure out some of the processes of navigating the Canadian job market and all the things that come with it. And so it was in trying to help people who were migrating find that balance, but even just watching people who had been here longer still struggle due to things like systemic barriers and racism, but also how to navigate that. So I started out doing that, and then as I was helping people do it, I needed to build a system that allowed me to continue to do that, scale doing that, and not be burnt out, and also get people to value my time and what I was bringing to the table for them. And that's where the business idea came in. But the real inspiration to even monetizing that process was I saw it as a way to balance both my passion to help people and as an opportunity to gain financial freedom as well for myself. And even now, in more recent times, I actually never took it seriously until last year that I started taking it seriously as a business. And what really sparked that was just even seeing how international students have been struggling with finding jobs. And there's a new drive in me to want to be an employer of labor so that I can help bridge some of that gap as well. So yeah, that's my inspiration. So who wants to go next? Or do I just pick who wants to go? Tayo.
Yeah, you can just pick someone to go next.
Tayo, you have been picked.
I think I already answered number 2. If you want a side hustle, what inspired you? I don't have one now, but I think I answered number 3 too. If you don't, what would it be? And I said it would be real estate. That would be, yeah, what inspired me to, or what would inspire me to choose that business? I would say one of the reasons that I would even think of considering real estate would just be to be able to leave. You know how when we say we make generational wealth and you want to be able to leave things for your children, you would just be able to build that estate and pass that on to my generation, I would say. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have one now, so I really don't know. I'm not a business kind of person, so that's a really difficult one for me right now. But yeah, something in that line anyways. So Funke.
Sorry, Funke, before you go, let me debunk something. Permission to debunk.
Go ahead.
I used to say that I'm not a business person, and I think that thing limited me a lot in the early years of business. And I think it's one of the reasons I didn't even really take the business serious enough until I remember the day it felt like I was, dancing, doing this dance with God, like, oh, do you want me to do this as a business? Do you want me to not do this as a business? And then one day it felt like someone just said, just decide, do you want to do it as a business or do you not want to do it as a business? Because Psalm 1:3 applies. The the blessed man will flourish. Whatever you do, whatever your hand finds to do, you'll prosper. But it's up to you. If you want to run it as a business, you'll prosper. If you don't want to run it as a business, but you have to be dedicated to it. And I think not seeing myself as a business person, I don't know why I kept saying that, right? Or why I kept thinking that, but not seeing myself as a business person without even realizing limited me from even opening up myself to opportunities. So I just want to debunk that. I think that we should all come out of that mindset, of that identity of I'm a business person versus I'm not a business person. We can be anything. And it's easier to start to chart that path forward once we start to see ourselves as, if I choose to get into business, I know I have what it takes. I can be, and I am a business person. So hopefully debunked.
Yeah, thanks. Maybe I should rephrase that. I haven't maybe seen a business I like yet, or something that has interested me yet. So yeah.
Okay, so we have someone join us. Olushola just joined. Welcome, Olushola. And we're just going
Good
through.
afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good to see you guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Same here. We're glad to have you. So we're just doing our icebreaker right now. And we've just answered the first question, which was the round table. Are you a career lady, an entrepreneur, or both?
I'm trying to be okay. You want me to answer the question?
Yes, if you don't mind.
Yes, for now, I think I want to add both. I want to be a career and I want to be an entrepreneur because like the way things are going around here now, you need to do something extra. You need to look for a way of cutting down your taxes. So that's just it. So I just want to be a career person. I want to be an entrepreneur at the same time. So that's the way to go.
Okay, thank you. And as a career person, what industry are you in? Like, what's your 9 to 5? And for the entrepreneurial side, what's your business?
Yes, industry. I'm in the health sector.
Okay.
But actually, I work in a bank when I was back home. At least let me put that one as financial sector. But when I got to Canada, I changed. I moved to the health, which is okay. I'm still not satisfied, but I'm still looking. I'm still thinking of what else to do. Then for the entrepreneur, I tried to register for my I think these financial services to educate people about their life insurance, how they can reduce their taxes, RRSP and the rest. But I just joined. I just passed my exam. I just got the license. So those are the two aspects I'm into for now.
Okay.
So thinking of how to build on it and become a better and fast in my field.
Thank you. That's amazing. Congratulations on passing your exam.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next question we're discussing right now is if you own a side business, what inspired you to choose that business? So you can go ahead, man. Like, and you said you have one. So what inspired you to get into the financial planning industry?
Yes, I look around and yes, somebody introduced me to that business. So initially I feel that everything is a scam and everything. But I can see that they have the government backing, you have to do the provincial exams and the rest. So and I have attended several meetings on it and I can see that it is real. So and those are one of my reasons, my driving factor. Then another thing is that I want to educate the family. I want them to know a lot of people do not even know what it takes. And people think when they own insurance, they're just wasting money. Insurance is just insuring the risk. There's some risk that you cannot even insure on your own. But with insurance, and people can pay a lot of money to insure their vehicles, but because it's compulsory, it's mandatory. But people don't pay to insure their own life. Yes, nobody nobody prays that anything should go wrong, but at the same time, just have it on the side. So I want to educate the family. That's the summary of it.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right, so I'll go next as it's my turn. So if you own a side business, what inspired you to choose that? I've always liked, my side business is baking and making desserts and snacks. I've always liked baking. I've been baking since I was young. Like my mom used to make our birthday cakes for us growing up. So I think I just had that passion. When I was in university, I used to also bake and just give out the snacks to people like that lived in my building. And then I moved to Regina and I was doing the same thing here. I was baking and giving it out for free to people. And then one day some lady said, you know, why are you giving out all this food for free when people do the same thing and they charge? So that's kind of what inspired me to make it as a business. I'm still very like small scale. I don't do it as often, but that's my side business for now. And hopefully I can have another one that's very stress-free, because baking is labor intensive. So I'm looking for one that is stress-free, that I can make my money work for me without having to put in so much work. Okay, has everyone gone around?
Yes, except Auntie Lami just joined us.
Okay, welcome, Sister Lami.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So
everyone.
we're currently going over our icebreakers, which are on the screen. So if you don't mind just answering those questions for us, and then we can go on to the discussion.
Okay, the first one says, are you a career lady, an entrepreneur, or both? I would think both, because it makes sense to be both. It makes sense to be both. So if I'm an entrepreneur, what's my business? Financial education. Also, I would say even back from 2014, I also have a cleaning business as well. But aside that, financial education as a business for me, being an entrepreneur. And then career, what industry? And what's my 9 to 5? Okay, I work in the financial industry. And so my 9 to 5 typically would be investment, mutual funds. We do a lot of buying and selling, all of those jargons, if you know what all of those things are. We do a lot of buying and selling, and we also just advise as well in terms of how money can work for our clients, what's best to invest in and what not to do with their funds, and for those that are struggling, how to manage their debts and all of that. Yes, so that's my 9 to 5. And if you own a side business, what inspired you to choose that business? Okay, so aside the fact that I work in a financial institution, and that's what informed, but I think I also love to educate people as to how to manage their funds or their resources. Some people would come and say, I have a little, what can I do with the little funds I have, or with the little money I have? I'm able to educate them, put them in the right path as to what to do with, whether it's as little as $1 or $2, or as much as $1 billion. It doesn't really matter. But the point is, we educate, we teach people, we advise, that's what we do basically. So, and I love to do that. Then the other business, which is the cleaning business, like I said, I haven't started so much of it. I have one cleaning job that I do, every other Saturday, bi-weekly. But aside that, I love to clean naturally. So I just love to I get to a space is dirty, I just want to clean up. I love cleaning. Cleaning is stressless for me as against cooking. I can look at cooking as being very taxing and very demanding, but cleaning is what I love to do. So I think that for me, it's an hobby. So that cleaning part is an hobby. And the financial part is the one I love to do, because it's good to just let others know how best money can work for them. Someone has been begging me to come to her house. Okay. Then the third question says, if you don't own one yet, what would it be if you had to choose? So this one does not belong. Yeah, so I'm not supposed to answer this last question. So that's about it. And yeah, Sister Anita, don't worry. I'll come to your house and clean up. I love to clean. I just enjoy it. I don't know why.
And I'll
Sometimes
cook for you.
for me it feels odd and weird, but I don't know. It's just my natural habitat. I just enjoy it. So yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. Thank you for
So if
sharing.
I
I'm
come
going
to your house and I start washing the dishes, don't be upset, okay? It's just what I love to do.
I won't be upset. Don't worry. Me too. Please come to my house. But it's amazing. We have two financial experts on the call, so it will be good to have a session one day on how to invest mutual funds and all that stuff. Sister Anita, I hope you're taking notes because we have in-house experts here.
Yeah, but but we took our this thing now, our survey on, and it's funny because that's what ranked the highest. So I've not even gone to Auntie Jumoke yet to tell her. I know you categorically told us that day that if we're looking for how to invest, you are not the person for us. And it turns out that's what's ranking in what people need as far as financial talks go. And we have that in April, right? So yes, definitely
Yes.
take note. And Salami, just I don't want to put you on the spot, but just randomly, if you had to speak to investments, is that something you'd be able to do? Would you be allowed to, just based on your work, is not asking, right? Would there be any conflict of interest if you're just educating people on investment portfolios, where to invest, not to invest?
No, it's not going to be, as long as I am not I'm speaking as an independent advisor. So it's not going to be conflict of interest. It's not like I'm speaking on behalf of another company or I'm selling another company's product, as it were. So that's not conflict of interest. Just telling somebody how to make that money work for them. It's something everyone should
Awesome.
should
I'll
know.
chat with you then.
So yeah,
Because
so that's fine.
I have an idea of how I wanted to make that April. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks. Yes. Noted. I'll update us on the other side.
Okay, awesome. So Sister Anu put a comment in the chat. Her inspiration came in 2022 to help people, and she registered an NGO that helps over 10 families independently without the government. The dream started when she was in school and she was still a student. She saw families struggle to put food on the table. And today the business aspect kicked off and she's able to register the business to support families and students in need. And I think this is a part of what drew me to the health sector. That is amazing. That is amazing. Sorry. All right, we can go on to the next slide, which sorry, the next one. So we just have a few discussion questions here. Oh, that's a bit small. But we just have a few discussions to kind of aid our conversations today. Even if you've not read the book, these are general discussion questions, so it's not really particular to the book. But the first question on here was that Patricia had shared some rules of the game, working in a 9 to 5. So sorry, just give me 1 second. As I mentioned earlier, she started her journey as a 9 to 5 career lady, working in the financial industry, and then had a side business, which she then pivoted to work on full time. And so what are some rules or advice that you have received that's been a game changer for you? So either in your business or in your career, what's something that you go with or an advice that someone has given you that really changed the game for you? Anybody who wants to go first? All right, I think I took some notes on what she said.
I can go.
Okay. while I pull that up.
So I think for me, one of the biggest advice or rules has been building systems around your business. And I think Tyra mentioned this, Funsi also mentioned it, which is I want a stress-free business. Funny thing, folks, I always make this joke that if I decide I wanted to do a food business, I'll probably run everybody out of the market. I'm not coming after you people though. But because like you, my grandmother actually, like, I think the first time I ate baked food outside of my house, it felt very strange. I threw up. I was sick for days. That's how much. Everything we ate, down to our bread, it was homemade. Ice cream.
Wow.
Yes, everything. And my grandmother had training in the UK, France, like a couple European countries, the US. So she brought all of that infused with African, like it was always, we ate fresh food every single day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, no jokes. So coming from that, I actually do enjoy feeding people, right? I actually love to cook. So I'm not joking until when I say I cook for you, then you clean it up. And so but one of the reasons I did not want to go into that line of business is because, and I used to sell Zobo when I was a teenager. My first business was selling Zobo and pure water and ice water, ice block and all that. But it was so physically demanding. And I didn't want that. And that's why I think I struggled with business for a while too, because I just wanted to find something that minimal efforts and it can still continue to churn and produce value for the people and produce money for me. So, but when I heard build systems around your business, it became a no-brainer that there are businesses that can allow you build systems that are almost sort of automatic or that can run on their own, right? And so for me, finding the balance between what I have a passion for, what needs exist that I can solve, or what problems exist that I can solve, and how that can be. There's still work to do, don't get me wrong, right? I still have to come up with training slides. I still have to meet with clients and all that. But it doesn't feel like work anymore because, again, the systems are there. Set your schedule, set your calendar, set these. Payments can be automated. You can build one content and then it's there on your website and people can still buy it every now and then to enhance their growth and all that, right? So really building systems around your business is something that for me has really been a game changer. Stephanie.
All right, thank you. And funny you say that because one of the rules that she had, the first one is about content, and she said content is king. And nowadays I've seen that really work where people have systems in place for like trainings, right? You're paying for pre-recorded videos of trainings and they're charging you these amounts, right? But then they're not doing any work. They're playing the sessions or they're playing the pre-recorded videos for you every day, or like you sign up for a course, you attend the course, but you're attending a pre-recorded video. And it seems like you're in the course. It seems like you're in the course, but it seems like the instructor is in the course, but they're not there. They're just playing you the video and they're making their money work for them. Because then they can run these sessions like 6 times a year for 6 weeks and have the same videos run and they're making money, right? They're making their money work for them. So I agree, having system and structures is really good. One advice that someone had given me when I first started, I was working in consulting, funny enough, like Patricia. And I think also based on my personality, I'm more introverted. And he said, you know what, don't ask, just do, right? If there's something that you have to do, don't always have to check in, just do it, right? So being able to take initiative, I think that was one advice that's been a game changer for me. And the other advice, my mom growing up used to tell me, if any subject is written in English, you're able to understand it, right? So no matter what the subject is or industry I'm working in now, like for me, I just changed jobs a few months ago and now I'm working in telecom. So working with like phones and internet and things like that. And that's one advice that has really stuck to me, is that, you know what, it's in English. So just go do your research and you'll be able to understand, at least to a level, right, what they're talking about. So that's one thing that has stuck to me growing up and throughout my career. Is there anyone else who would like to share? I don't want to have to call names, so please share. Or I will call names. Oh, someone else has joined us. Oluchuku, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I actually do not have enough time to read the books, so I'm a little bit behind.
And that's fine. So we're just going over some practical questions at this point that don't necessarily have to do with the book. So in the book, she gave us some advice on how to excel or how to do well in our careers. So right now, we're just going around the room to ask people, what is an advice that you have received in your career or your business that has been a game changer for you? And we had an icebreaker, so if you don't mind sharing as well, if you have a business, you can tell us what your business is. And if you're a 9-to-5 lady, you can tell us what industry and what you do.
So I recently graduated from University of Virginia, and at the moment I haven't secured a job in my field, and but I have a business that I'm currently running, which is my cleaning business, and I think most of you have known that I run a business in my spare time. And one advice I've always got is have passion. Passion really plays a big role in whatever you're doing, and also research, like have knowledge in the field you are pushing on. You have to like have the knowledge before you jump into whatever field or business you are considering for yourself. I think that really plays a big role in my life. So you have to have passion and research, and be willing to put the effort. Yeah. So that's what I think.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else? Are there any ideas or any advice that you have received that has been really, really helpful in your journey? Okay, so Sister Anu has a comment here. She said, my game changer was being able to firstly work with mentors. That's very good. And see what challenges they have faced and how they resolved it. So I organized and had a bit of stress-free pickup for people picking up. Balancing the books was my second game changer. Tracking and keeping track of both the business and the NGO. A website, which is a work in progress, is also helping to address most glitches she's experiencing along the way. And she realized that loving what I do drives me harder. Yes, thank you so much for sharing, Ma. And in the book, it's also mentioned, having passion for what you're doing, as well as having mentors. I think there's a proverb that says, you see far standing on the shoulder of elders, or something like that, right? So you don't have to reinvent the wheel or make the same mistakes that people have made, because by having mentors, you're saving yourself years and months of work and rework, right? So somebody has gone ahead of you to make things a little easier for you. So being able to channel that and having mentors in our industry or in our business is also very helpful. And having a website, so like Stanita mentioned, having systems and structures in place, right? So you have a website, people are not always calling you to get information because all that information is already available somewhere, right? They can always go there and check out and get the same information that they would have called you for. Thank you, Ma. Okay, so we can go on to the next question. As an entrepreneur or a career woman, finding your voice is important. What are ways or tips to finding your voice? So in the book, she talked about finding your voice, right? As a career lady, she talked about when she was very shy. and noticed that her counterparts, who sometimes don't even have important or valid responses, but they would just say things during the meetings. And she struggled with that for a while. Also in her business, like being an entrepreneur, she said, finding your voice and having a unique voice is also key. So what are ways that we can find our voices, either in our career or in our business, or being able to speak up? For example, like some people are very introverted, right? It doesn't come naturally to them. So what are some tips that can help us excel in the workplace? And I can go first on this one. But one of the things she talked about, I think for building confidence was prepping ahead of time, right? I think with knowledge comes confidence. And I found that like being prepared for meetings and things like that ahead of time definitely helps with confidence, right? Because you're going in knowing what to talk about. I think most times when we don't feel equipped enough, that's when our confidence starts to dwindle. So I think going in well equipped for meetings or any discussions that you would need to have, I think is a good way to find your voice. And just pushing yourself, even if it doesn't come to you naturally, you just have to sometimes push yourself. Yeah, just push yourself. Sorry, there's noise in my background. And then realizing that everybody is human. I remember someone was telling me, I think one of the managers I used to work with while I was in a company, and he said, remember that even the exec people, they wear their trousers the same way. Like we all get dressed the same way. So they are not special humans, just that they are obviously in a higher position. So like the directors or VPs you're going to be working with, but just remember that whoever you're going to be meeting and discussing with, they're also human. They also have their insecurities. I remember my husband telling me, he was speaking to a manager and the lady told him that after her presentation, she was so nervous, right? And he looked and he said, like the people that I even think, don't have any issues or are super confident, they also have their own insecurities, right? So just understanding that everybody is human and pushing yourself and prepping. Are there any other tips? Career advice, lady, Sister Anita. This is forte.
Yeah, I was going to answer. I was just giving everybody a chance to answer. They're not talking. So anyway, so I think for me, one of the biggest things I'm learning, particularly for everyone on this call, for those of us who are, whatever the colors these days in Canada, visible minority, racialized community, whatever word, equity, deserving groups, whatever framework of names that they give us, particularly for those of us who are, of a different ethnic background, and as women, I think one of the biggest things you can do is learn to advocate for yourself. I like what you said about knowledge. Knowing your onions gives you a certain confidence that I know what I'm doing. I know the skills I have. I know the value that I bring to the table and to the organization. And also just knowing what those things are. They're very, very important. So that in the event that someone tries to undermine you, knowingly or unknowingly, a little caveat to the part of recognizing that all those other people are humans too that I like or that I want to chip in is realizing that sometimes they are humans and they might genuinely not be out for you, but their actions can create that. Because I remember particularly an example that she was sharing in the book about a manager she had at the city that, would make statements like, how could you have done that? Why did you, what would make you say that? Without realizing that those choices of words were having an impact on her. Yes, he wasn't, and she said this, that he wasn't that way towards her only, right? But the truth is that it also seems to take on a whole new different of impact depending on who it is that you're dealing with and what the dynamic of that relationship is. I found it interesting when she said that, she cried and then, I don't know, it didn't sound like that thing was resolved. I was like, okay, so what happened? Did anybody have a conversation with him? How did that end up? But I remember something similar happening to me when I was reading that story. It cast my mind back to something similar that had happened to me, where this particular, in government, this particular ADM was so rude to a point that he would literally walk past my cubicle. There were 3 of us in 3 different cubicles. Mine is the first. To get to the other 2 people, you have to walk past me. He'll walk past me, get to the second person and say, hey, meeting in 5 in my office. Get to the third person and say, hey, meeting in my office in 5. And then as he's walking out, he'll say, and somebody tell Anne. Like, it was that bad. People were now reaching out to say, did something happen with you and this guy? Like, what's going on here? It was that bad, and until, yes, I prayed about it, to be honest. I prayed. I took some time and talked to God about it, like, what's going on here? We started out nice. And it was not for lack of not doing my job and doing it properly. Like, I would still do presentations for him. I'll still show up to his ADM meetings. I'll show up to his exec meetings, and I'm doing presentations, setting up committees for the organization as a whole, and doing all of that work. And people were commending the work, and he would maybe grumble a comment on, yeah, good job. But then he'll go right back to just treating me like crap. No, until one day I just realized nobody is coming to fight for me. It's up to me. And I went to him and I said, I need to talk to you. And I said, look, thank you. I started with a thank you, acknowledge something great that they've done. Thank you for being, someone that I can learn a lot from. And truly, he really was someone. He would teach me about Crown resource history. A lot of things I learned about Canadian First Nations dynamic of resource management. I learned from that guy, and I give that to him. And I thanked him for all that and told him how much I appreciated that. And I thanked him for, and then I went on to say, and while I appreciate all of these things, I just get the sense that lately there might be something maybe you're not pleased with, or is there something that you're upset about? Maybe it's something I said, maybe it's something I did, maybe it's something I failed to do. But here are some examples of things that you said or done that have impacted me. And here's how exactly it has impacted me. And I don't appreciate that. And I went on to tell him and all that. And it felt as if the scales came off his eyes. And he was like, oh, well, I'm sorry. I honestly meant no harm. I didn't think about what my action, like I didn't even stop to think about it. Now, whether or not that is true, I don't know. I have my theories on what is true or not. But it doesn't change the fact that, guess what? One, you've been able to identify that this is, sorry for my language, BS, and you call him out on that BS. And when you call him out like that, it makes him realize that this is not somebody that I can easily just walk over. And before anybody would say, well, you can do that because you're an extrovert. No, it took me a while. So, Funks, to your point about your husband saying, sometimes even people that you think have it all together and they are great, they are these, everybody gets to those moments. They all have their moments. When I told somebody one time that every time I have to stand up to speak, present, do anything, that I'm really like sweating on the inside, they didn't believe me. When I tell them I'm an introvert, they don't believe me. If I have my way, I won't talk to humans, but the truth is sometimes you have to recognize that you need to push yourself out of that, right? But learning how to advocate for yourself, map it out. What are the things that you have? In my listening to my clients, I tell them, like, I actually do a KSA pool for people, knowledge, skill, and abilities. Create a tool, a box of all the things that you have, including key accomplishments that you've had in your career, and just watch your confidence level skyrockets. Because oftentimes we don't stop to think about the things we've achieved. We don't stop to think about the training you just had, the skill you just acquired, the things that you're doing, even like facilitating the session. That's a skill set. But if I ask somebody, for instance, and say, oh, do you know how to facilitate? Chances are our default response will be, oh, no, I don't know how to do that. But you facilitated a session in LadiesArise, and that counts for something. So just, first of all, knowing what you have and learning to own what you have. And then so that when the opportunities arise, you can advocate for yourself, whether it's to advocate against discrimination or advocate for a promotion or advocate for an increase, whatever that advocating looks like. I remember before I left FCC, they were saying, oh, new fiscal was coming, and they said, oh, you can't get up to a certain percentage of your performance pay because you just started 5 months ago. And I said, yes, but when I was coming in, I told you guys that I wanted to come in at this salary. You gave me a bump, but not what I wanted, on the grounds that I had to prove XYZ. And did I prove it? Yes or no? I did. So thank you very much. Can I have my full pay? Right? So even if it means advocating for those extras, you can learn how to advocate, but you can't advocate when you don't even know what you have, right? It will be a hard sell. Sorry. You asked for something. I'm going off on a tangent on full-blown career coaching.
Love it. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And funny, I actually had that in my notes. So I said, as an entrepreneur or career woman, finding your voice is very important. We're assessed mainly by what we say in our work most times, and opportunities pass us by when we are quiet and unable to advocate for ourselves, and sometimes others undermine our abilities. So that just ties into everything that you have said. So thank you. All right. Kofo just joined us. Welcome, Kofo. We're just going through some discussion questions based on the book. All right, so the third question we have on here, and once we're done the questions, we'll go back to the icebreaker so Kofo can answer and we can get to know more about Kofo and learn from her. All right, so the next question here is, based on the book, she has said, I had changed. I learned that once you become a parent, your life is no longer about you. There is a sense of urgency to everything you do because it's not just your life you're affecting, you're now responsible for someone else's life too. For those who are already parents, would you agree with this? If yes, how has being a parent changed or shaped you? Yes, I agree. Everyone should please speak to this question so that we can learn. For those who aren't parents, they can learn from our experience. So please share. Sister Tayo, I feel like you're killing the game as a career woman and a mother of two boys. So how has your experience been? And how has being a mom changed your life?
I'm not killing the game, oh, God is helping me. Amen. I feel like this is a broad question, but I don't know. Okay. I'm just trying to think of the aspect you. How has this shaped? Are you talking about how I've been able to balance being a
Anyway,
mom
how it shaped you with balance, or if it has thrown you out of balance, and then we can all add our experiences and maybe we can help. But like, before you had kids, how was your life?
Okay.
There are things that you were able to do before that you probably can't do now, or you maybe had found a way to balance and juggle things. Maybe what systems and structures do you have in place that helps you succeed? Like even going to work and being at work on time, that in itself is something you have to balance because you have kids. Like before you had kids, you're only getting yourself ready, but now you have kids. How do you balance everything? How do you show up at work and be your best self while being a mother?
Okay. For me, when I had both my kids, I was in school, so it was a very challenging one for me. I was still a student when I had both my kids. So one of the greatest things that has actually helped me is having support. So my husband has been a very, 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 very great support. So I wouldn't say I've done this all by myself. So my husband has been a very great help, and God, like I had mentioned earlier. So it has really shaped me in so many ways, because when I didn't have kids, like you had said, I was very flexible in things that I could do. I wasn't planning for 4 people. I was planning for maybe only myself and my husband, but then number 1 came and then everything had to change. some people who know me know that I love traveling. I really love traveling. And so at the initial stage when I had kids, that was something I couldn't do at that initial stage of my life. I couldn't travel as much as I would have loved to. But as time went on, one of the things that we did was we started traveling together as a family. But let's just even backtrack. One of the things that has actually really helped me is building structure in our home, building structure in my home. So for me to be saying, at least my kids are a little bit older now, so it might be different if you have younger kids. But I mean, it's something we can also put into practice now that they're younger, and then when they're older, it would be much more easier. So we do have structure in the sense that when we get up in the morning, the kids know what everybody has, like their roles and responsibilities of what they know they need to do in order for everybody to get to where they have to get to on time. So the night before, if it's getting your snacks, they know they have like a list at home. They know that they need to get their snacks the day ahead. They need to have their clothes out. They get their clothes out for them. I no longer get their clothes out. All I do is they get it up, but I also just go to check and make sure it's appropriate for the weather. They do that. Those little tasks they do. They get their snacks out, they get their clothes out, they get everything out ready for the day. They do the assignments, I oversee them. So all those little things that will take your time in the morning, we have all of those sorted out the night before. They tell us what they're going to have for breakfast, whatever it is, when they come home. So I'm trying to also let them have their independence, right? So if they're having cereal, I no longer make it for them. They do their cereal. Ayo cooks his food now, like not all of it, but he can cook noodles, he can fry plantain, he can boil rice, he makes eba, and he has this interest. He also wants to learn. So that is something I noticed. So I let him do his breakfast. If he's wanting to have bread and sausage in the morning, he's fine. He does that, and that gives me time. But we didn't get there in one day. We had to build, and I had to help him get there. And then I had to put this structure just so that I myself and my husband will have some time for ourselves as well to be able to do other things. And another thing again is my career as well. I had to look for a role that gave me flexibility so that I could be there for them as well, right? I opted out of the 12-hour nursing role. I opted out of the night shift because it wasn't working for me and it wasn't working for my family. I had to look for a balance. And thankfully, I found an 8-hour, actually 8 to 4 or 7:30 to 4 o'clock. So I had to also change my career. I look for something that was flexible enough for me to be able to spend time with them and time with the family. I think I've rambled enough. I'll stop here and let other people talk. Thank you. I hope I made sense too. Thanks.
You did. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yes, I agree. Having systems and structures in place definitely helps. I agree. It was not a ramble. I definitely learned a lot of things. But yes, having systems of structures in place, planning the night before, and finding a career that provides you the lifestyle that you're looking for is very key. Anybody else? Even like, how do you overcome mom guilt? Like, I know you mentioned like you like to travel. That's something I like to do, but I always feel somewhat bad leaving my daughter out. So, yeah, how do we overcome mom guilt? But please share other moms in the house. Sister Lami, Sister Olushola, I'm not sure. If you have kids, please also share how you balance being either a career.
Those two names you mentioned, they should even be talking to us because they raised teenagers and Jerusalem is an adult. They should even, they should
we want to learn.
Okay, I was going to talk. Thank you very much, Sister Tayo, for what you said. Even for me, I learned something, to be honest, from from the fact that you had to put structure in place. Thank God for.
I
think she missed herself.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Can you guys hear anything? I've been talking. Okay, so I said, Sister Tayo, thank you for the nuggets you dropped, having system in place and the kids know what to do and all of that. Thank you. At least I learned that, and I hope I can still inculcate that for my children, because for some of us, when we came, they were almost, close to being a teenager, and I know back home then, of course, we all had help. So I don't even think I was even involved in anything per se, because there was always the help doing that and that for the kids. But we are getting better. We are getting there. We may not be there yet. So, but for me, my kids are older, so one of the things I probably I would say I put in place is um mornings when we're going to school, they know they get their lunch ready for themselves. Once in a while, I do help, once in a while, but I really don't want to make it like an everyday thing, which is one thing I've made them to understand that just get to do it, even if I'm not around. And yes, I couldn't travel when they were younger. When they were younger, yes, we traveled together because I would always go on vacation about that time and we could travel, whatever. But now, but believe me, they stay at home. And I can go anywhere, that I want to go to. But that being said, um, I think it's just important for every one of us, whether we have little children or grown children, irrespective of their age, we should have system in place because it makes our lives easier. And even for ourselves, even we ourselves, it makes us also more productive, right? So we are not just going around in circles. We are able to achieve, if not all the things that I would love to achieve, but at least most of it, maybe 90% of whatever it is that we want to, would like to achieve, So I want to say that the place of having system.
You mute yourself.
Is just muting. No, it wasn't me. It was the assistant just having to mute me. So, anyways, yeah, is that the question? I'm trying to look at the question. It's tiny. It says it starts with you. Is that the third question we're supposed to answer? Just Anita,
Yeah,
did I answer that question? Because I can hardly see the question. It's very tiny, and that's because I'm looking at it on my phone.
We're discussing number 3 right now,
yeah, we're discussing
Which
number
is
3.
which is
please could you read it out
so
for
there's
me?
a quote in the
So
book
there's
that
a
says,
quote.
I had changed. I learned that once you become a parent, your life is no longer about you. There is a new sense of urgency to everything affecting, to everything you do, because it is not just your life you're affecting, you're now responsible for someone else's life too. So for those who are already parents, would you agree with this? If yes, how has being a parent changed or shaped you? And then we also ask, like, what are things that you do to make it easier for you to balance either being a career woman or being an entrepreneur?
Oh, okay, okay. Having kids for me, I had kids back in Nigeria, so I had help. So I really don't know if I'm in a place to answer this question because I had lots of help back home, like from nanny to cousin to brother, everybody. They were always helping me. I can count how many times I apart from maybe go for teacher parents meeting, once in a while, and I alternated sometimes with my husband. But aside that, I really don't think I was in any way um I won't use to say the word hands-on mom because there was always somebody to just do it for me, you know. So coming to Canada now, I initially I struggled. Yes, yes, I did struggle initially, but like I said, also they were not young either. Because at the time we came in, my daughter was 10, my son already was 8, so it was like they were basically grown and they were able to stay on their own so I could do my thing. So I wouldn't say in any way that they held me down. No, they didn't. I won't use my kids as an excuse, and I've always told myself that they're not an excuse. However, I do believe in the place that one has to just um impact values to them in the sense that one of the things I tell myself, I'm a Christian and I always look at it from also the Christian perspective. I'm always that someday I'm going to give account to before God. And so how has that in any way, how have I been impactful? How have I helped my children to, find purpose, just out of the blues? I know sometimes even when I'm going to church. My children, they don't. Sometimes they're like, no, we don't want to go on style. I'm like, no, you're going. They know night vigil, you will go. Not because of anything, but because it's values I'm trying to impact into them. Sometimes when I go for evangelism too, I take them along. Yes, we go evangelize together because I'm trying to impact value, and that's just for me. So that being said, I also would say that they are not an excuse. They don't change my life in any way. When they came, I see them as an addition, or as even more like help. Because sometimes even when I don't feel like evangelizing or going out for evangelism, my daughter is like, "Mommy, are we going evangelism today?" She's even the one pushing me, reminding me. I'm like, okay. So today she said, did I take track? Mommy, did you take tracks in church? Are we going out today? What time are we going out? In my mind, I don't feel like going out. But there's a push coming from somewhere too that she also wants to go. So, that's interesting for me. And so I would say they are not and I did tell somebody recently that one of the things I thank God for is that when I came here, I remember as a mom then, I wanted a boy as the first, but somehow God didn't give me a boy as the first. I have a girl as my first. And I was like, why a girl? God, I wanted a girl. But when I came to Canada, I realized that guess what? My daughter, she's like I don't want to use the word handbag. No, she's not my handbag, but she helps out with things like, Mommy, can we do this? Mommy, let's do this. And I'm like, wow. So God saw this coming all along, and He gave me a blessing, because with daughters are now, they go all out. Sometimes like, Mommy, don't worry, just sit back. I can help do this. Don't stress yourself. We'll look for whatever we have. We will cook. We will do this. We will do that. So I see kids as not coming, not to change or alter our life, but rather to even add color and flavor and spices and what have you to it. So they are not in any way an excuse. If not, I don't believe God is a good God. So whatever He gives us good and perfect gifts. So our children, for me as a parent, they are good and the perfect gifts, an addition to me, and they complement and even bring out the best in me. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord.
Lord. Thank you so much. Thank you. No, and I love that last piece especially, because I think that even how we view it matters. How we view them matters, right? Because if your perspective about children, and I think that this is informed by some people would say, I don't even want to have children. They've not had it, they've not experienced it for themselves. Maybe they've seen it and they just said, I don't want to have children, because in their minds is, they'll change my body, they'll change my this, they'll change my that, I won't be free, or I won't be this, or I won't be that if they show up. They see them as people that come and alter your life. But it's all perspective and how you see it, right? So I really like what you're saying there, especially, and even what you were sharing about how you know you get them along in doing some of the things that you're doing as ways of imparting value. I love that as well. You were sharing that example with, they'll not be the ones coming to tell you, are we not going out today? In those moments, you can't even say no. Why? Because you have to hold true to your values that you are trying to teach them. And if you play dilly-dally with those values, then you're telling them it really doesn't matter as much, right? And that's what they now learn. And at some point, they'll tell you, even you don't believe in what you're doing or saying, so why should I? Right? So I really like what you're sharing there. So thank you for sharing on that one. I think that we can go on to the next question, which is, it starts with you. Be your biggest cheerleader and believe in yourself. So this goes to entrepreneurs and career women. In the question, then, and this one, everybody will speak. I will follow the order as I see it on my screen. It starts with you. Be your biggest cheerleader and believe in yourself. So the question is, what are practical ways you motivate or cheer yourself on? Antonio, I saw you try to unmute. Did you want to go first? I know you're at work. Okay, please go ahead then. Go ahead.
Okay. So this particular one kind of wows me when I look at my years going back. Especially starting with when I started working as like a grad nurse. It was really very hard, but I made sure that there's something called incivility within the healthcare sector, especially when you're just new. So I took every condemnation as a learning moment, learning how you interact with your colleagues, your senior colleagues to say, and also at the same time, for every mistake, make sure you learned something and you are going back to learn it. Why? So that you'll be a better person. And when I look back now, and then I see a new person coming in, or I see myself getting involved with some procedures or processes that even my senior colleagues have struggled with, and then I'm the one now speaking out to advise, I see I have grown, and I'm patting myself and thanking God also. So everything always starts with us. If you believe in yourself, the moment you start doubting, oh, can I start this business? No. How will I be able to manage these thousands of people? You just start seeing yourself withdrawing into that shell, and you will never ever be that person you have dreamed or would have dreamed to become. I remember on my last day of my preceptorship, my preceptor told me, I was like, how am I going to know all this? And she said, it comes with time. Put your heart and your mind to it. Make sure you are learning and you are growing to be a better person. So when I look back now, actually it starts with me. But if I had panicked then and I'm panicking to do things, I will never be that better person. So yeah, it's everything starts with us. And always tell yourself you can do it. There are times when I look at in the business part of it, there are times I've made mistakes falling along the path, and I still see people still, in those mistakes, people are still trying to believe, even when I'm trying to rectify things and managing a platform of over 1,000 people. And then being a mom and at the same time also working as an healthcare person. I would say it starts with you and also with God being able to lead you. There are times you still have to, we always fall back to God to ask questions and, pray, like, even if that short word, which I do all the time, when I'm driving or anything and I'm crying, I'm just like, God, please help me, show me, tell me what to do. So everything starts with you. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to tell yourself, speak to yourself, you can do this, you have got this, and just go for it. Thank you.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much. That is a classical example of when life hands you lemons, make lemonade and sell them to make money. Thank you so much for sharing. Interesting. It actually has a good flow of order already. Thank you. Tayo, you're next.
Let's see if I knew.
Yeah.
Okay. Practical ways for me. One of the one that stands out the most to me right now is just piggybacking from what Sister Anua just said. I remember also when I just started nursing, I think I was just maybe 5 months into my career as a nurse then. The unit that I had worked at the time, we always have a charge nurse that oversees like the other teams and liaises with like if there happens to be a problem, managers and stuff. Anyways, on that particular shift, it was a night shift, and the way they assigned it then was by seniority. Unfortunately, we didn't have any senior nurse that had been trained in that role, because you had to be trained to be a charge nurse before you could take up that position. We didn't have anyone. And so they had looked at all the nurses that were coming in, excuse me, for the shift that night. And I was the only one, I was the most senior, even though I'd only had 5 months of experience on the job and I had no training whatsoever. I'd never been trained as a charge nurse. And so they said, you're going to do it. And I was like, do what? Like, you're going to be the charge nurse for the night. I'm like, I've never been trained. I'm only 5 months on the job. I know nothing about, like, I can't oversee all the teams. Like, I don't even know what they even do here. And they're like, well, just do what you can. You survive the night. And then in the morning, whoever is the charge nurse in the morning will take over. And I was like, okay, here we go. Anyways, long story short, I remember when I had my interview to be an instructor at Sax Poly, and then I had to look back, and then I had to tell the story. And then just looking back, how the night went, it went very smooth. Like, I shouldn't say it went very smooth because we had incidences here and there, but I was able to, you know, I was able to lead the team, lead the whole unit that night. Like, we had a client, a patient that actually went into code that night. We had to call the CCAs for when I say CCA, I mean like the critical care, like not like the care aides. But we had to call like the most responsible physician. Like, I had to do things that I had never done, and I had to figure them out on my own that night. And guess what? After that night, the following day, they had to enroll me into the charge nurse. They had to enroll me into the training to be trained as a charge nurse. So I just want to pick that one example. Like, when I look back at it and I'm like, wow, you really did this. And when I told that story again on the interview, I was like, I gave myself a pat. I was like, Tayo, you did this because I had no experience. I had no training. I had nothing whatsoever. Like, when I look back, I'm like, wow, this was a moment that I would say actually shaped my nursing career. And I was like, I don't think there's nothing I would say I cannot do with God helping me. And if I put my mind to it, like in this thing, there's really nothing that honestly, there's really nothing we can't do, as long as you're really motivated, like you really want to learn and you really want to know and do and really do that. And like, if you set your mind to it, there's really nothing you can't do. And as long as you also seek out opportunities as well. When those opportunities arises, you don't shy away from them. You stand up to them. Like, those were really learning opportunities and learning moments for me. So yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We don't know what we're capable of until sometimes we're thrown in the dip. Awesome. Thanks. And Salami.
Oh my. Okay. So, you know what jumped out at me while everyone was talking? One of the things that I just reflecting back, like, trying to reflect back and see moments where I have personally, share myself on. And then one thing that just jumped out to me was that, maybe not me per se, but in situations where I'm having review, or I'm having, one-on-one review with my boss, there's always something that, and even when I wanted to leave a particular job for another one, and when I was leaving, my boss at that time was like, "Oh, we're going to miss you. You're also cool, calm." In my mind, me said, "You're so cool, calm." That sometimes when she just sees everything going away and she looks at me, I'm just calm and cool in that, in the midst of the storm and in the midst of all the challenges. And that was my boss. I was like, really? I didn't see all of that, but apparently she was watching maybe from a distance, and she gave me that feedback, and I was like, wow, so I've got some girl power within me, and I was glad to hear that feedback. And even when I have one-on-one now, even, in my current place of work, and my boss is always giving me feedback, it just shows that I'm doing something right? For instance, oh, it's always like, "Oh, you're so professional, you do your job, you're right on time, nothing." And for me, those are the moments, those are the things I remember. And that's what, pushes me on to say, yes, I can do it. I'm able, I'm capable. I am, because sometimes, like we all know, we all second guess ourselves. We all have those moments where we are thinking, I'm not able to, whether it is leading prayer in church or taking Bible study, you're saying, I cannot do it. I don't want to do it. Sometimes the pastor should just come and say, don't do it again. I'll be praying. But in my mind, I know God doesn't answer that kind of prayers. And the same thing to our work. Sometimes, you want to be given the next job. And like, no, I don't think I want to do it, because I just feel that I may fail at it. But guess what keeps me as a person going is when I think about those previous, or past appraisals, and how the feedback I get, which always like, "Oh, you've done so well. You're very this, you're that, that keeps me going, and that tells me that I'm doing something right, and I should keep at it. Keeping at it meaning don't drop the ball. If there's anything you need to do, get better at your game, at what you do. That's it for me. I just wanted to share that.
Awesome. Thank you. I like there's a theme that we're having here, right? Which is that when you look at your past achievements and past successes, it reminds you of, I can do this. Actually, there's a term for that. And one of my courses on my listing speaks to that, self-efficacy. And that's drawing on past achievements to build confidence for the now of the future. Thank you. Thank you. Oluchi, you're next. Oluchuku, sorry, Oluchuku. If you're talking, you're muted. Okay, I'll come back to you then. Until Shala. Until Shala. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Oluchuku.
Sorry, can you give me a moment? I'll be back.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Sure. No problem. Okay. And so Shala, can you hear me? Okay. I know Kofu is not able to unmute at the moment. Ife Jesu, welcome, welcome, welcome. I don't know what time zone you're in, so I'm just gonna say good day.
Thank you. I'm so sorry I joined late.
It's all right. We're glad to have you at any point than never. All right, so I know you're okay. I know you're late to the party, but you're next on my list of, we're answering number 4. You can see the screen, right?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so the question is, it starts with you, so be your biggest cheerleader and believe in yourself, right? And we're answering the question on what are some practical ways that you motivate or cheer yourself on.
I don't know. Buying good food sometimes, cooking good food, eating good food. Shopping on my spending money on myself every once in a while. Going on a trip also helps to motivate me. Also, I don't know, motivating myself, like writing writing down the things I've done and what do you call it? Just as a reminder of, okay, yes, you've actually done this, you've been able to go this far. That also helps to motivate me. So yeah. Yes, those are some things that I try.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. I love that traveling part. You know, it's actually, travel is good though, people. Like, no kidding. If I have all the money in the world and all the time, the truth is I will do a lot of traveling. Anyway, so I will answer the question. Let me check again. Oluchiku, are you ready? And Solo Ashala, any of you ready to go at number 4? Okay. All right. I'll answer and then I'll turn it back to Funks, who will answer, and then we'll go on to the next thing then. So for me, one of the biggest ways that I motivate and cheer myself on is, you know, like everybody else really, is really drawn past achievements, but there's something else that also motivates me. And that is that I honestly do not want to feel God. I believe strongly that my life is not mine, so to speak, to live. And someone put that life in me, and I owe it to that someone, God, to make the best of it. And that includes the people that are around me. I don't want to feel good and I don't want to fail them. When we're talking about that number 3, for me, one of the ways that even being a parent has changed and shaped me ties into that number 4 for me at the same time, which is that when I look at my children and I look at the way I live my life, one of the things that I tell myself is, if all they have is to just mimic me, where will that land them? If I don't think I like the results of what that is or what the answer is, then I'm changing course. Or if I have to stand before God and I have to give an account of what my life is, do I think that He'll be pleased? Right? And that's a question that I have to ask every day, to be honest, right? But to just always keep that at the back of my mind. And quite frankly, it motivates me and it cheers me on, because I want to live my life in a way that my children, those coming after me, people that are around me can be impacted positively. But I also recognize that I can't give what I don't have. So whatever changes I think I want to impact, it starts with me, right? And so when I'm feeling, to be honest, I'll actually even be very raw and transparent. My husband can bear me witness on this. This morning alone, I've said at least 3 times, oh, if I have my way, I don't want to be in this session today. I don't know who can relate. And that's the truth, right? But here I am. And so, but even in that moment is remembering that you've made a commitment, you follow through. Even in that moment, it's saying your children have to watch you fall back on your commitments. Is that a good thing? I mean, there are times that life can happen, but that's not one of those moments, right? And just remembering that and reminding yourself of why I do the things that I do really helps me. Folks, I will give it to you to answer your number 4, and then we will continue.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking over for a bit. And that was very powerful. I like how you said, if our lives are all our children have to live off, oh, how would they turn out? That's very strong. All right. So for me, I actually have a few points that I noted down. But the first thing I said here was words are powerful. And I believe a majority of us here on the call are Christians, and the Bible says life and death are in the power of the tongue. And in her book as well, she also quoted the scripture, right? So positive affirmations and reciting scripture. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing the word of God. So declaring what God says about you. And then with time, you'll begin to believe it. So what she had here was, I really believe that the more you consciously and verbally acknowledge all of your good traits and actions, the better your self-image, right? So just declaring what God says about you. And that's one thing I'm going to adopt from now. Maybe having like 3 lines that I say every morning, over and over again till I fully believe the words. The other thing I have here is community, right? So do you have someone that can encourage and cheer you on when you're having doubts? In the book, she mentioned her sister as being her encourager. So whenever she was feeling anxious or nervous, she would call her sister, and her sister will affirm her and encourage her. And I think that's also one of the reasons why we have LadiesArise, right? Like, we're all here to cheer each other on. We're not competing. We are meant to collaborate and raise each other. So having a good community, like even the friends you have, your circle, the people you surround yourself with, also helps with motivation. Investing in yourself. So just as you would invest in your business, investing in yourself as well. So acknowledging that you are your biggest asset, and then learning and just making yourself better. Like with, I think it was sister, sorry. I can't remember, but someone mentioned earlier on, right? Like with the way things are changing and with increase in expenses and all these things, we also have to better ourselves so that we can also grow in our career or our businesses, right? So investing in yourself is key. celebrating yourself, if I already mentioned, taking yourself out, going shopping, traveling, all these things, because you've done good work. So celebrating your small wins, your big wins, is also very important. And I also have here having a brag list, which people have talked about. There's a lady I follow on Instagram, and every year she creates a list of things that she has accomplished in that year. So as the months go by, she continues to populate that list with everything that she has done, so that whenever she's feeling down or just needs to reflect, she can just go back to that list of things that she has done, and it serves as a great encouragement for herself, right? So, and that's what I started doing that late last year. Like noting down even the projects that you work on in the office, right? Those are the ways that you can encourage yourself. Sister Tayo mentioned, her being a charge nurse and how that helped her in her interviews and things like that. So just looking back in our careers, what are the notable things that we have accomplished, right? Like in the Bible, David said, I fought the lion and the bear, right? So these are the ways we encourage ourselves, knowing that we've done these little things which builds up to the greater task that we have ahead of us. So just looking and being able to reflect on all that we have done. Or taking a friend with you on your trip. Yeah, so traveling with friends, everybody supporting each other. These are the different ways that we can motivate or cheer each other on. And the last thing I have on here before I hand over to Sister Anita was in terms of our words. In the book she had talked about, I think it was a challenge she had noted, was talk the self-talk, right? So create something that's personal to yourself, like your affirmations that you can repeat over and over again. The one she had was, you are beautifully and wonderfully made, and that it ties into her faith, and that she's a creation and she has been created perfectly. Right. So I think my takeaway assignment or challenge for us all is, if you don't have affirmations, if you don't have things that you recite to yourself to encourage yourself, take some time off to reflect, check the Bible, and then come up with your own daily affirmations, things that would encourage you as you go. And feel free to share on the group if you are so led, so that we can encourage everyone to do the same. And that was it for me. I will pass it on. And I'll pass it on to Stanita. Sorry. I think I got muted.
All right. Thank you so much, folks. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your thoughts. I really have enjoyed all the conversations so far. I like what you said about community. And speaking of that community, quite frankly, is one of the reasons why LadiesArise exists. For me, I don't know if I really shared the story of how this all even came to be. But just as a refresher and a reminder, I used to love to read a lot. Like I would read books, and I learned a lot from reading books. And even just finding my career path was from reading a book. And as I was reading that book, it really made me realize, oh my God, whatever they're talking about and doing, this is exactly what I see myself doing. And that helped me crystallize a career path that I chose for myself. And so, but then number 3 that we're looking at here, one of the things that I think having kids changed in my life, I stopped reading. It felt like it was a constant go. And Salami mentioned, when you're in Nigeria, you have help. I had Simi in Nigeria. I had 2 helps. That's minus neighbors and grandma and family members and friends that would help you. And then fast forward to being in Canada and having Simi plus Simi, my mother-in-law literally stayed for 3 weeks after Simi was born, and she was gone, and still nursing my C-section wounds and everything. My husband and I were just left to ourselves, so to speak. And so there was really no room to learn or read. And then I remember one day just feeling very frustrated, and I realized every lady I was talking to seemed to be in similar boats. And one of the biggest pain for me too was just watching. It felt like I remember one day being so frustrated and asking, how is it that people who have walked this path are not telling us how to navigate it? Maybe we're not asking. I mean, I asked though, I just didn't get answers, or I'll just hear random things like, it's just grace. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but what does that grace translate to? What does that look like? Right. And it started with just doing the basics of just, okay, learn, read a book a
They
month.
go,
Just,
so they go spiritual on you. Like myself,
yes,
mommy, don't go spiritual on me. And he's asking
exactly.
me, because mommy, don't go spiritual on me. I'm saying, okay, what's the answer?
Exactly. And then a few Christianese, you know, but I knew that even in that supposed grace, I know there's practicality to God. And I wanted that and what that looked like. But I went to the basics of, you know what, let's even start with challenging ourselves to read a book a month. If and I had a conversation, I should know that one thing translates to another, and we're like, okay, who else is in this boat that might be interested? Maybe you're looking for how to push yourself. For some people, it was that, well, guys always have soccer, they always have this, they always have that. And you know, you've noticed how they don't even think about it. They don't even think about how it will impact us. They just go and do what they want to do, right? And we will be there, we'll think about kids, we'll talk about this. And it's not bad that we're thinking about it, it's good. But that in the midst of that, how do we live our lives in such a way that we're enjoying the moment, we're filling our own personal tank and filling the tank of others? Because one of my pet peeves with women is, especially older women, is watching women who, when their kids now leave, you now start hearing, it's almost as if sometimes some of them even sound bitter. Like, I gave up my life for this man, I gave up my life for my kids. And then it's almost as if when the kids now leave home, they can't seem to find who they are anymore. And then all sorts of issues start happening. Same with the marriage. You know, the couple live their life so much around the children that you don't even find time to connect. And when they leave home, you realize you're now strangers because the only thing that tied you together was catering to those kids. I didn't want all of that, right? And so all of those things, it wasn't just one thing. I can't say it's one thing that led to LadiesArise being formed, but it was all of those things, wanting to help people who are coming behind, you know, learn and navigate the ropes, helping other women find the balance between self-development, self-learning, and, you know, having a community where we can just hang out sometimes and learn and grow. I just wish that I had more fun side. You know, things like this make me realize that, oh my God, the things I call fun is too serious to a lot of people. That's why he used to make fun of me. Reading a book does not relax you, he would say. It's stress. And it relaxes me. You know, so all of those things culminated into this community, including finding a place where women can thrive. I've heard some people say, I remember somebody here who one time facilitated a session like this. Okay, I'll come back to you, Kofoko, who wants to share her response. Thank you. I remember somebody facilitated a session like this one time in LadiesArise, and she said she went to work and they were saying, oh, they didn't think that she might be comfortable. They know she's not comfortable speaking to groups, so they were not going to give her an opportunity because of that. And she said she just remembered that, I did in LadiesArise now. And she told them, oh, actually, I've been improving myself. And she talked about LadiesArise and what she had been doing, and that she was going to take a risk on it. And she said she just told herself, if I put the PowerPoint together for LadiesArise, I can do this. And she did it. And guess what? She got a lot of commendation. So it's also set up for things like that so that we can impact. There's actually something we're going to do for one another coming up in the next couple slides. But before we go on to that, I want to share with us, I've already talked about what we are, which I was still going to get to in a slide. But I just wanted to share this little bit of background as well, to say this came out of a place of a deep-seated need, but also a recognition of the struggles that we tend to face as women, and particularly in the age dynamic that many of us are in on this group. I'll also share about what we're doing for next month. I'm really excited about that one. I know one question that sometimes people tend to ask me a lot is, who are your mentors, or who's your mentor? Yeah, all those questions. Anyway, but you get to see one of the people who really was, I'd say, when it comes to a person who invested in me, even when I didn't see anything in myself, when all I wanted to do was take my own life, somebody who invested in me, you know, partner with God to invest in me until my life literally took, oh, no, on now. No, Kofo, I refuse. Until my life took a turn that I'm sure pleases God's heart, and we'll talk about that. But Kofo, you will share your number 4. Don't worry, just make it brief. Thank you. Go ahead. We're not moving on.
Oh, I said I said we
I
could
said
move on.
I refuse to move on.
Okay. Actually, everyone kind of, because I was trying to listen as well as I was doing what I was doing, and everyone kind of touched on the things that I do too as well to motivate myself. One other thing that I do is I try to put things down. So I'll write things down at random places that are not just random places, but places that I frequent. So like my phone, if you click on any part of my phone, my screen saver is something that motivates me. It's something that I've written on it that motivates me. If you unlock my phone, there's a word there too that motivates me. In my house, I have things on the wall. I have random words on the wall that I look at almost every day. And those are like little ways that I try to use to motivate myself. I also, depending on what I'm motivating myself for or to. So for example, I usually tell people that I'm not good with business. Like I'm not a business person. I'm a typical 9 to 5 person. But then I keep saying that and I keep feeling like, oh, maybe I just need a little bit more to be able to find that thing that I can do. And even though I'm not a business person, I still motivate myself to literally go for any kind of business conference or seminar. I have absolutely no business there. I don't have a business, but I would still go just to go and hear something that maybe might kick something off in me. So that's another thing that I do. I would do little things around that thing that I'm hoping to get at. I would do little things around it that would help push me to get at that main thing. So it could even be maybe a project and a work, and I'm thinking, well, I can't do this. I don't have this. Once I start listing all the things that I'm thinking I can't do and I don't have, I start listing all the ways that I can have it and I can do it. So if it is, oh, I can't do this project because I don't have this knowledge in project management, I'll go and look for something in project management to go and do. Or maybe a training or a course. So those are little ways that I used to motivate myself. If I don't do it scared, I will do it in chunkable sizes. I'll break it down and do it like that.
Awesome. Thank you.
So
I wanted us to move on from that. Thank you so much for sharing. I really love that, and I love what you're sharing there about do it afraid or do it in small chunks, right? I really love that. Yeah. And you were not here earlier when we debunked the idea that we should not say that we're not really business people. We are business people. Anyway.
Oh, can you imagine? I was not here, but I was listening in the spirit.
I used to say that too. And then and I think for me, even though baby too one time called me out on that, and then God eventually called me out finally on it too. Talk about having people who speak over you too, right? Anyway, so before I go into what we have for next month, here's something that I started populating that I wanted to share with us. For me, I was laughing at myself. Folks, by the way, this was what I was up doing last night. You won't believe. When you saw me trolling in the middle of the night, this was what I was doing. And then because I started thinking about it, like I know many of us want to do business. I know many of us have questions, how to navigate. I had all those questions. I still have lots of those questions, to be honest with you. And I don't know how many of us were at the coalition of Black small and medium businesses kickoff event last week Friday. But when the CEO of Regina Chamber of Commerce was talking about how there's access to information and all that, one thing I said was sometimes this information are not as accessible, readily accessible as some of these people think. It's accessible. You think it's that accessible because you know about it, because you created it. But oftentimes, people back me up or correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes it's hard to know where exactly am I going to find the information, who does what, how can they really help me? Anybody find that struggle? Yeah, true, right? And so for me, as I'm navigating, and even for my career coaching business, this is how I started and stumbled into it, people, to be honest with you, is as I'm navigating the process, I start taking notes, I start mapping out the patterns, I start mapping out the themes to help other people, right? One of the giftings that I'm finding that God has given me is pioneering things that sometimes, so I'm embracing it. I don't really like it like that, but I'm embracing it now, you know. And so I started putting some resources that at least I have found together, but I'll need help populating it. So these are the 7. I had to do some research. Like I was going into each one to look through what they do, what they offer. Some I'm more aware. So this number 1, I was even hoping to pull someone from BCW to come today and talk about what they do. Because of all the places that I have looked at for supports for my own business, and I've looked at all the 7 here except number 5 and number 7. Maybe not, yeah, and number 7, right? Oh, okay. SAC startup, like to do your business, folks, to help you with your business process.
Yes, I reached out to them for when I wanted to register my business. So it's a free service. So someone helped me, like she walked me through the whole process, and also sent me some resources as well.
Yeah, great. So I met
very
them.
helpful.
Yeah, I met them and had the chat with them at the event last week. And they were even helpful with connecting, because my husband is looking on developing something as well. And they were helpful with pointing us to the right direction, because that one had like intellectual property dynamic to it as well. So they directed us to the right place on that as well. But BCW I'm working with, and like you, they helped with the hand-holding process. And right now I'm actually going through a business coaching session with them as well on business planning, marketing strategy, and all of that, all things that I find helpful. West, I have reached out to them, and then I gave myself a mental revenge moment with them where I'll become maybe their CEO or the president of their board. I don't see them as inclusive as they seem to sound. And I took it up with 1 or 2 of their keynote speakers at some of their events who took the information back to them. I'm yet to meet with their CEO, but she had requested to meet with me to just have further conversations on what that looks like and how they can make their processes more inclusive. Regina Chamber of Commerce, that one needs it well. I don't know if any brand new business has money to go and be joining membership like they're saying, but it's okay. So this is just a few of the ones that I've started putting together. This access to small business grant is ISED, Canadian government, and they offer whatever they offer. But the thing I like about them is if you just follow the link as it is, it prompts you to fill in details about what you do. And then guess what? It now pulls up a data based on your responses. It will, regurgitate to you a list of things that are accessible to you based on where your business is at, from services support to grants that you can access, to loans that you can access as your business needs. So I will share this with all of us, please. And if you know anything that needs to be on this list, please let's work together to populate it. What I want to do with this is move the organization name here, the key services they offer, including whether it's free or not. If they target women or Blacks, I find that sometimes those can be extra helpful because then there's an additional context that they get, and then the website. So we're going to, as many as are willing to do this, we're going to populate it together. But I think it's a good thing to have on hand for us to work towards. Make sense? Okay. Okay, and then next month. So next month is International Women's Day. If you we're not reading any book, we're going to have a virtual, this is virtual, it's not in person because she's in the UK. So we're going to have a virtual session, and we're going to have Modupe Lanre Akinsiu. This woman is a powerhouse. And what's even better, I don't know if she's still pastoring now, but she was one of my, she's my spiritual mother. She's my mentor. She just really, she challenges me, people, like, anyway. not too much story, but this is what we're gonna do. I'm not sharing the poster yet because she hasn't given any feedback. I don't know if there's anything that she would have to subtract or add. And by the way, if you're looking for people to do someone to do graphic design for you, I recommend Timmy, who did this beautiful work. So you guys, yes, she's not here, but I'm acting her business for her. She's shy about telling people that she's doing business. The one she did for me, I'm still begging her to say, send me my invoice. Let me pay you, please. Anyway, so this is what we're going to do for next month. Once it's out, please let's share so that, yes, so let's share so that everyone, we can invite as many women as possible. People, anybody who is paying attention to what God is doing, you know that there's something that women are a key piece of the end time movement of God. You don't want to be left behind. Something dear Rev, for those of us that know Reverend Hicks would say is, one of the greatest tragedies that can happen to a man is to, one, not know what God is doing, and or two, to even if you know that you're not part of it. If I may, I add a third one. If you're not bothered that you're not part of it, something is even wrong. We should be checking the person out too, to say, God, what are you doing and why am I not a part of it? How do I come in? What do I do? Because I believe we all have a part to play and God is counting on us. We will not go back to him after 70, 80 years. We are praying for long life and go and tell him, yeah, so all I did was what? Nothing? No, that will not be our portion. So just to let us know, notebook for next month. I don't know if anybody is brand new, but just a refresher, what we do here is to really just, our mission is to build and equip tomorrow's ladies today. You're not waiting to get tomorrow to develop and build who you're going to be. You start that journey today. And one of the things we're really trying to drive for every one of us is to help us live intentional, purposeful, and holistic lives. And we do this through continuous learning, self-awareness development, and of course, community support. So there's the daily affirmations. So if anybody is struggling with, the reason I do those daily affirmations, I have my own personal confession is like 15 minutes long, and every year it changes to reflect because I also incorporate some of the goals and goals that we have as a family, that I have as an individual, the things that I do in ministry, business, work, all of it usually are infused in it. So it's very personalized. But there's one that I'm sharing, that I'm developing to share with our teenagers. I can share that as well because it was one of the ones that I think I used 2018, and I made it less generic, a little more generic-ish, but also very targeted. I'm happy to share if anybody is interested, but the daily affirmations really are there. I know that sometimes some people struggle with, what do I say? How do I say it? But just like Fonso was saying, just say it over and over to yourself. There's what the outer ear hears, and then there's a way that repetition resounds it to the inner ears. And once you can hear with your inner ears, believe me, you begin to change the way. You even know one day you just realize you see that voice of doubt. When it comes up and tries to tell you, you want to say you want to go and do charging us and you have only 5 months of experience, you just remember that the words you've been saying will just well up on the inside. And before you know, you have something to counter whatever that thing is, right? So these are some of the ways that we help one another to grow and rise. And I just really want to see us just engage the process, okay? I know we all have different things we can do. That last Saturday mornings, we only meet every last Saturday, but let's make it count, all right? And let's help one another grow. So just quick reminder, we're in February, and on this side is our upcoming meetups with the dates. On this side, and the Zoom link actually is always the same. And then on this side are the books that we have been reading or that we've read so far. So October, November, January, today, this is February, and this is where we are today. March, there's no book to read because we're going to have the Global Women virtual conference. And then April, Clever Girl Finance. So go ahead and get it now. You have 2 months to finish that book, people. 2 months to finish that book. 2 months. And I think it's still Team Funks that is leading us in April. 2 months to finish it, people. We're going to make it, right? Let me see a thumbs up. I can barely see us because of my screen sharing. Read together. Yep. Okay. Awesome. Only Funks is with me. Yeah. Better one than none. Okay. And then May, we're going to, in recognition of, Mother's Day, in May, we're going to read about the joys of motherhood. I'm really curious about that book. So mark your calendars, set your timers. I'm a big believer in systems and structures. We've talked about that a lot in this group, whether it's for Ladies Arise, whether it's for things that you do, recurring events, whether it's on appointments. Honestly, people, if you don't want to know how many times calendars and alarm clocks have saved me from things that I'm supposed to do. And sometimes even with those, things still sometimes slip through my hands. So I can imagine how people who don't even leverage all those tools, how it can be. Please, let's put on calendar, put it on reminder, timer, whatever. Get your books ahead. If you want, we'll share this again in the group so that at least people have access to it. And last but not least, so this is something that I want us to do in the group. This is something that I want us to do in the group. We talk a lot about women supporting women. We've talked about business and leveraging community to grow our businesses and all that. So please, I'll put this on the group chats for us, on the community page for us, so that everyone can do this. And what we want to do is, one or two things. If you have a poster to show, one poster that talks about what your business is. If you don't have, feel free to just text about it and say, we do this. If you're interested, and I know that it means that you're adding more to those your thousands, where we'll probably have more people coming to that thousand membership group again to say, here's what we do. If you have a social media page, feel free to share. And I'm going to put this and encourage everyone to say, hey, as soon as someone shares their link, please go like it, follow, and all that. I'll see if I can talk to Presh if there's a way to even take some of those posters as they're shared and use the Ladies Arise Instagram page to also just share what we all do and tag people who own those businesses, right? So please, if you're not currently following the Ladies Arise Instagram page, please do so that when we're tagging, we can tag you as well. That one is a task. I'm not making promise on that one yet. I'm just saying I'll talk to our comms people to see if it's something they can help. It doesn't have to be, all at once, but at least start to do that. And we can do like maybe a brand spotlight thingy as we go along. But yeah, anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Merci beaucoup. We're done. Sorry, we're 8 minutes over, but we started 10 minutes late. Any question, comments? Any last words? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, folks. Can we give
Thank
a round of applause for helping put this together?
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming, and I'll see us all.
All right. Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye. My bestie, my new bestie. Thanks, folks.
You're